Good evening. It's an honor and a privilege for me to be here this evening to introduce to some and present to others the 2012 Hamilton Citizen of the Year, Mike Dingeldein. One of the great things about being a journalist is that you get to meet all kinds of different and interesting people, and you get an opportunity to share their amazing and inspiring stories with thousands of readers each and every day. And it's difficult to sum up the life and accomplishments of a man like Mike Dingeldein and do it justice in 20 column inches in a newspaper article or in a 6-minute video like the one you're about to see in a moment. But we've tried our best to do that. For more than 20 years, Mike has been working to make Hamilton a better place to live, work, and play. Whether it's through his breathtakingly creative architectural projects or his civic involvement and service on various boards and committees, Mike has given generously of his time and talents, all in an effort to make this great city of Hamilton better tomorrow than it is today. Words like committed, dedicated, persistent, attentive, creative, and humble are used to describe Mike. Mike was born in Hamilton in 1961, the second of 3 children to Norm and Carol Dingeldein. His father was a pharmacist and owner of Beeler Drugs, which he purchased the same year Mike was born. Mike graduated from Talawanda High School and went on to Miami University, where he received both his bachelor's and master's degrees in architecture. Mike began working the Monday after he graduated in 1984 at Steed, Hammond, and Paul. His first school project as an architect was working on Freedom Elementary in the Lakota District in 1985. He would later go on to lead the design of Hamilton's 8 new elementary schools, Hamilton Freshman School, and the renovations of other schools within the district. Mike has formed his own firm, Community Design Alliance, and is the executive director of the Core Fund here in Hamilton. He has been instrumental in a number of community projects, including the extension of Hamilton's bike path and the redevelopment of the Journal News building, a project that obviously is very near and dear to our hearts. All of his accomplishments are made that much sweeter, I'm sure, by the love and support of his wife, Cindy, and his 2 twin daughters, Isabel and Emma. I could go on, but I will let the video presentation say the rest. But I will leave you with these words spoken by Mike Dingeldein in a recent interview with the Journal News' Richard O. Jones. You don't get involved for awards and recognition, but to make a difference. The best part of it is that you're standing shoulder to shoulder with people who are making a difference. We are making it happen, all of us. Ladies and gentlemen, our video.
Things are just happening in Hamilton, and it's mainly because of Mike Dingeldein.
In sports terms, he'd be a go-to guy. He'd be a most valuable player in this area, no doubt about that.
Mike inspires people. People like to work with and for Mike.
I think he knows what Hamilton was, and I think he has a vision of what Hamilton can be again.
He's a good leader, a good visionary, and sets a fine example for other citizens in the community.
For all his talents and accomplishments, Mike Dingeldein is the humblest guy you'll ever meet.
He's the ideal person to help us move economic development projects forward.
There's nobody else better in the city that's going to help us to bring these buildings back to life.
Mike loves Hamilton, and I think you see that in the work that he does. I think you see that in the involvement that he has in all of the projects, and I think you see that in the results that are there from his projects.
It's hard to find a committee or organization in the city of Hamilton in which Mike Dingeldein is not involved.
It seems that Mike is able to take all these different organizations and groups and projects he's involved in, keep them straight in his mind, and deliver real results.
When you look at 2012, what comes to my mind are how we've improved our High Street downtown. And when you think about Mike's connection with that, you think his architectural firm on High Street. You think the Journal News building and the way that's developed into an educational center. You think about the Core Fund and the launch of the Core Fund, which will truly benefit our downtown areas as well as the entire city. And you see Mike's name attached to all those projects, and that's why it's the year of Mike, and it should be for 2012.
He has this vision about taking an idea and taking a concept and being able to put it down on paper, and then presenting it to people and getting people excited about that deal.
Mike's not only a professional, and he can not only visualize how something can get done, but when the plan is put in place, you're also going to see Mike rolling up his shirt sleeves, getting busy, and doing whatever it takes to work with others to make projects happen.
Mike combines his intellect with his modesty. He very quietly can bring a group together or focus on a subject or a need, and you don't even realize it till you stop to think, you know, Mike is making this happen.
And he does this not because he has to, but he does this because he wants to make the community a better place. I think he believes in Hamilton. I think he sees brighter days ahead for Hamilton, and I think he wants to be a part of that. He wants to be a leader of that, and I'm thankful that he's out there doing it because he really does make a major impact in our community.
Typically, when I go into these old cities, and especially ones that have a lot of great historic fabric, the toughest thing is getting other people to see your vision. And it was really nice to hook up with Mike. I had to do like zero selling on what Hamilton has. I mean, he was right there with me every step of the way. Not only did he help us with the historic mercantile lofts, when he walked into the place, he said, "I love it. I want to put my offices here." And I mean, really decided to put his stake in downtown Hamilton, which was huge, not only for us, but I think for the city.
He's a problem solver. He's a guy who, if somebody comes and says, this really can't be done, Mike will say, let's sit down and look at it. We can figure out a way to solve this problem.
Mike's blunt in a good way. He says exactly what he thinks, kind of cuts through all the fancy language and says, this is what I think, this is why I think about it.
But he's also very tolerant of other people's opinions. It doesn't have to be Mike's way. He's very willing to listen to other ideas, incorporate others' ideas, and find the best plan that's brought to the table.
I feel very good about Mike's leadership and what it means for the future of Hamilton. He has a true love for our city, and he and Cindy together have a passion to make good things happen.
You can't do what Mike does and what some of our super volunteers do and not love where you live, as well as see the potential that Hamilton has. And if you love Hamilton now, you're going to love Hamilton in the future, and Mike's a big part of developing that potential into an area which will continue to be and even become even a better place to live, work, and play. Really, it's all true. Mike's an amazing guy. And you got to put Cindy in there too. I mean, I know Mike got the award, but you know what? You need a special family and special support of a wife and your friends around you who will let you do those things, because the hours that he must put in during the day are amazing. I mean, I just know it. I mean, I'll show up at a meeting, there's Mike.
Ladies and gentlemen, let us stand on our feet and recognize our Hamilton 2012 Citizen of the Year, Mike Dingeldein.
To Dr. Ono, 18 points, so I'm doing a little better. This is amazing, and that's hard to watch. So, I spoke Wednesday at the City Council meeting. I spoke Thursday at Rotary. When I talk about architecture of buildings, that's easy, but this is hard, and this is different. I was pretty impressed with Dr. Ono's comments, and certainly the connection to Bearcat Nation in Hamilton. But I think I should do my part and say that Miami Redskin Nation is live and well in Hamilton, so let's hear it for it. I do owe the greatest debt of my life to UC because it brought my wife to this part of the state. So that's great. I've told my kids they're welcome to go to UC, but if they do, Mom's paying. Dad's only paying for my entrance. Again, this is hard. It's not my comfort level, even though I'm comfortable speaking in front of people, but certainly not about myself. And watching that was amazing. So thanks to the Journal News and thanks to Nick who did that video. It's amazing. I'm also amazed at the outpouring of support I've gotten in the last month. People sent cards, people sent emails, people sent texts, people approached me in the grocery store. That's cool. It's cool to know that people do notice and people do pay attention to what's going on. And as I said, and Archie quoted me, standing shoulder to shoulder with people is what it's all about. It's a big deal. And that's kind of my not so profound or not so provocative thesis for tonight, is that we're not really doing this stuff out of duty. We're not really doing this stuff out of the what or when. It's really to do it together with other people. And that is kind of comes to me true by 3 different points. And the first point is everything has changed in our world. It changes constantly. I don't think we're ever going to go back to the good old days. Certainly our economy's changed. Our city government is struggling with new budget realities. But I think there's an upside or a silver lining to all that, and that is the big ability of abundance that we all lived with for so many years is probably gone. And what I think the good side of that is we're going to have to learn how to be better neighbors and live locally again. And so that whole idea of work, live, and play in our own community is really exciting to me. I think it's going to be good for us, and I think it's been forced upon us by bad things happening. And that brings me to the second point. The true blessing in life don't come from abundance. If anybody feels like having good things is what makes us most happy, I think they're missing it, because I think what we're really blessed by is who we share life with and who we do things with. And so I don't participate in a lot of things out of a sense of duty. I participate in a lot of things out of a sense of doing them with everybody else in this room, and everybody else in this room participates. And I think that's a cool thing about Hamilton that I really, really appreciate. As an architect, I love to say I've had a blast doing what I do. And again, it isn't about buildings, it isn't about architecture, it's about clients and coworkers. I have a whole table of coworkers here tonight from SHP. I appreciate them being here. 29 years of my life was spent there, and I'll talk about why that's changed a little bit here. And then the third point, and I think the point that's most important, is about what life does to us. Opportunity and fate kind of pull us along through life. And my friend Pastor John changes that from the secular version of fate to what's God's path for us in this life. And it isn't always good things, and we couldn't script it, we couldn't predict it. It's something that happens to us no matter what we think or want, but it changes us profoundly. And so, life is good and bad. It's hard to see, it's harder to understand, and I guess I've learned at this point in my life, at 52, that I've stopped trying to learn the mysteries of life. I've just tried to let them sort of happen to me. And so it occurs to me that as I sit up here today, a handful of very small, very subtle things happened in my life that put me where I am today, and certainly probably put me up here on this stage. My parents decided in 1970 to hire Steedham and Paul to design their home. Seemed like a small thing at the time, but it certainly changed my life, as you all know. I went to college at Purdue for a year in engineering, and I was unsure that I was doing the right thing. And so my father said, go see Jim Steed. If you think you want to do something different, maybe he can help you. Well, obviously, we all know where that went. Jim hired me in 1984, and about 3 weeks earlier, he hired a Youngstown Bearcat graduate, Cindy Kilpatrick. And I'll get to more of that in a minute. But I think the big turning point, and the one that involves a lot of people in this room, was when I was 26 years old. And if you do the math, that was 26 years ago when I was 26 years old. Andy Paul and Jerry Hammond came to my desk and said, tighten up your belt, straighten up your tie, we're going to a meeting. That meeting is for the newly formed Bicentennial Commission for Hamilton. And I walked into a room over at Beckett Paper with Bill Beckett, Tom Rentschler, Joe Markham, Dave Ballou, Dick Fitton, Pat Carruthers, Chuck Rush, Joel Schmidt, and Cindy Parrish. One good woman in the room made a big difference. I was intimidated by these people, but they were very kind to me, and they impressed me, and they became mentors to me. And in fact, I don't think it's an accident that 3 people in the room that day were the ones who nominated me for tonight. So I appreciate that. I appreciate all of them, because all of them really kind of changed my life at that point. I got back to the office. We worked through the Bicentennial Commission for a couple years. That turned into the Fitton Center project. I got to do that project. I was given a lot of faith and hope from my bosses. And Jerry Hammond came to me and said, "Isn't that impressive working with these kinds of people?" And I said, "Yes, it is." And he not only allowed me to do that more, he encouraged me. He said, "This is what you should really try to do with your life. It isn't about the work, it's about what difference you make in your community." And I thank him for that. He's not here for me to say that to tonight, but I did get to tell him that several times. And it really did make a difference. So I joined the Fitness Center board, and I joined other boards, and it was really that stepping stone that made a difference. 29 years I worked for that firm, and now there's something different happening, and you got to say, what's up with that? And I will tell you by a story I want to share that I've never shared with anybody, that I shared a conversation with Donna Carruthers when we were building the Carruthers Ballroom at the Fitness Center. And I said to Donna, "This is great, look what you're doing in this town, look how much difference you're making." And she had a great quote, which I'll never forget. She said, "You know what? Pat's a Glendale boy. He never owed a damn thing to Hamilton, Ohio. But he took my own hometown as his own, and look what's happened." I always remember that, and isn't that great? So I'm going to borrow from Donna, and I'm going to say, Cindy's a Youngstown girl, but she took my own hometown as her own, and look what's happened. If there's any kind of head fake tonight about why I've done what I've done, it's because she was willing to do all the things that I wanted to do here in Hamilton and be part of that. And if you want to know why, after 29 years in a firm, I've changed my direction, it's not just about the city of Hamilton, it's about being in business with her again. And people are saying, "Do you really go to work every day with your wife?" And I say proudly, "Yes, I do." And so we're in this together. We really want to be a part of this community. She more than I, in many ways. And she puts up with a lot in terms of the time it takes for us to raise a family and to do all the things we do. So I want to kind of end with a lyric from the musical Rent. It was written by Jonathan Larson, and he ironically died before the show ever made it to the stage. But his quote was, and this really makes me think about your friend Matt, "There's only us, there's only this, forget regret, or life is yours to miss. No other road, no other way, no day like today." So we have to take advantage of the things we need to do today. And to Mayor Pat Moeller, another famous movie quote, "There's no place like home," and Hamilton, Ohio is our home. Thank you very, very much.